Welcome back to another video on DC Future States, and today we're covering Flash number 2. And all you need to know is that Wally West has been possessed by the Rider Apocalypse famine, and he has killed most of the Flash family, pretty much all the Flash family except for Barry Allen. Barry now is the only one left. He's going to use the weapons of his enemies like Captain Cold, Rainbow Raider, Trickster, all of his different rogues, right? All their weapons, and the science that he knows to fight back. Will Barry save Wally? Will he take down Famine? Or will he die trying? Well, we're going to find out today as we dive into this issue. It's been 2 months since Wally West murdered Jay Garrick. Barry Allen sits inside a speed lab at the Flash Museum. Barry still has hope that he can save Wally, but he must hurry. Armageddon is coming. Barry now has a full white beard. It honestly looks like it's 20 years instead of 2 months, but hey, maybe with the loss of his speed, Barry is now aging faster? I don't know. But moving on, Barry is using his science knowledge to create weapons that can stop the villain Famine, who has possessed Wally. The Flash's greatest villains had weapons that could stop him. But can these weapons stop Famine? As Barry makes these weapons, he remembers everyone that has fallen, all of his friends, Impulse, Jay, Max Mercury, and Iris. Iris went out into the world and never returned. Barry doesn't even want to imagine what happened to Iris. He tries not to imagine what will happen to himself when he confronts Wally. Barry uses all of his experiments to see if he can make a transfusion that can hurt Famine. Barry is fighting the impossible. The transfusion fails. Barry would usually call on the Justice League for help, but they have proven untrustworthy lately. Barry puts on a new Flash suit he's created. This suit has all the weapons and armor he needs to confront Wally and Famine. Barry has hope. Hope is power. Barry walks out of the Flash Museum and uses DeVoe's thinking cap to draw out Wally. Wally appears in front of Barry. Famine speaks through Wally's body. Famine taunts Barry. But that's when Barry throws a boomerang at Famine. He then uses the Trickster's flying shoes to gain the high ground in battle. Famine catches him by the leg and pulls him down. Barry uses his modified weather wand to create negative speed force energy. He blasts Famine back with a huge explosion. Famine falls to the ground and is then hit in the back by the boomerangs. Barry then uses the Rainbow Raider's prism goggles to burn Famine to a crisp. Famine falls to the ground, dead. Barry feels bad. He killed his friend Wally, but at least he defeated Famine. But that's when Famine appears out of nowhere and hits Barry in the back. The Famine Barry killed was a Speed Force duplicate. Famine begins to take out Barry's weapons. The creature goes to kill Barry. Barry uses his Pied Piper Hypnosonics to blast Famine back. Famine begins to get very angry. Barry then uses a Mirror Tech duplicator to make hundreds of versions of himself. Barry then says, "You've underestimated me." Famine tries to fight back, but he gets surrounded. Barry uses the Still Force to stop Famine entirely. Famine is losing. Barry has a chance to kill this creature, but instead, he tries to get through to Wally one last time. Barry says to Wally, Wally, can you hear me? Listen, we can fight this thing inside you together. Remember all we've overcome together. We've endured so much death and loss. It has to end, Wally. We need each other to fight these forces working against us. These demons that drive us both. No matter what we become, we're all we got left. Please, I need you back, Wally. The thing inside you is distracted, it's vulnerable. Together we can... But then Wally cuts off Barry. He says, "Why, Barry? Why are you trying to kill me?" Barry sees Wally and says, "I'm trying to stop you, Wally, not kill you. But if you're with me now, we can fight what's inside you together. I've weakened it." Wally then shouts, "You've weakened me, Barry. I'm dying. Need strength to fight back before it's too late. Help me." Barry then puts out his hand and says, "Wally, listen. You said Famine feeds on something. Well, what does it feed on? Maybe we can starve it or poison it." Now Wally begins to fall into Barry's hands. He says, Running out of time. Find others to help. Need magic. Xanadu, Constantine, anyone. Barry then looks down and says, Wally, all the magic users have been gone for years. No one knows where they... But that's when Barry notices. Wally says, bring them to help me. Barry notices that this isn't Wally. This is Famine. Barry then shoots Famine back with a cold gun. Barry says, it's you! You want me to bring you more victims like Jay. Wally would never ask me to endanger anyone else after what you did to Jay. Now, Famine smiles. Clever man. Now, he makes Wally look very frightening, alright? Like, Wally has a huge smile. He looks like a demon almost. Now, Famine continues to speak. He says, you, of all people, must have known I would use the Speed Force to vibrate this body and melt through ice. So what were you hoping to achieve? So basically the cold gun that Barry used did not work at all. Now, Famine continues to say, so hopeful you would save your friend with your science, but you could not have hoped your ice weapon would contain me. Barry looks down. He's sad. He says, no, to stop you. By stopping Wally. That's when Famine begins to shrink. He begins to get super skinny. He begins to shout, what is happening to me? So Barry then explains. He says, I modified the field in Captain Cold's ice gun. You absorbed it while melting the ice. You inhaled in the steam. The ice you ingested contains a genetically altered form of Wally's DNA. The re-engineered DNA is now propagating through his body with Speed Force velocity, changing him by my design from the inside, destroying his skeletal muscles, eliminating his body's ability to run. So basically Barry is removing the speed from Famine, so Famine can't run anymore. Famine can't use Wally's body to run as fast as Barry and kill him. So he's making Wally very weak. He's actually killing Wally, but hopefully killing Famine at the same time. Barry then goes over to Wally as he begins to die. He says there will be no healing from this. The reprogrammed DNA will maintain this condition for his body. Wally is now useless to you. And that's a flash fact. Now get the hell out of my friends. Now Famine comes out of Wally's dead body and smiles. Famine looks super freaky, alright? Seeing this image, guys, he has big white hair, he's smiling, he's skinny, he's gray. That's a demon for you. Now, he says, oh, to savor this dying light, your mournful eyes, Barry, I will go to hell and back. Yeah, for this moment where you burn your dreams for Wally with your nightmares of science. For this moment where you realize you sacrificed your family in vain to challenge a force beyond your science. I come in the flesh to take in this moment where the magnitude of my manipulations and your failure dawns upon your soul. Finally you realize that I am Famine, for it is the famine of hope itself that gives me life and purpose. And never I've been more safe than by starving the boundless hopes that so many invest in this Wallace Rudolph West and in you. Barry looks, he says, no. So basically what happened is that Famine fed off of Barry's hope. And when hope pretty much failed and there's no more hope, then people started to die. So when Barry, Avery, and Jay went to the mine to Wally, and somehow Famine was able to kill them, or at least kill Jay in the moment. I'm pretty sure that Avery is dead now, but Famine was able to get to them in just Wally's mind. The reason was because Avery and Jay lost hope in Barry. They didn't believe in him anymore, so therefore Famine could get to them and kill him. But in every weak point, every moment that Barry showed weakness, Famine was able to get through. So Famine is powered by Barry, not by Wally. He just used Wally because Wally is the center of hope. And by pretty much making Wally become a murderer, he really lowered hope in everyone in the Flash family. And slowly they all lost hope, and Barry was the only one left, and now he's lost hope. He's lost everything, so now Famine should be able to kill him as well. Barry goes over to Wally's body. Wally says his last words. Barry, why? Barry looks down and says, Wally, I failed you, I'm sorry. Now Famine smiles and says, intoxicating, the taste of your despair and the dying of Wally's final hopes in you. Barry looks up, and he says, Wally's final words to me during our encounter in his mind was the warning truly his, or another of your deceptions. It doesn't even matter whether we're driven by truth or a lie, the hearts or the mind. How can any of us really see our actions or their consequences? I only sought to save Wally, but I brought war to my enemies to do it. I planned to stop you, and only started my family of hope as I led them to death's door. I tried to save the world by bringing pestilence to Wally. So we see Barry looks up and sees everyone dead. Captain Cold, Wally, Jake Eric, Impulse, Avery, Max Mercury, Iris. Basically, Barry's the reason everyone died, which is very bleak and sad. Now, what happens next is Barry decides, you know what? I'm not gonna lose hope. He's not gonna lose hope. He's gonna strive forward. He's gonna go at this one last time. He's gonna try to defeat Famine. So, he walks over to Famine and he says, I am done feeding you. And Famine, I'm gonna say it, Famine looks so freaking creepy, like, I swear. He's so skinny, like, dang. Alright, if I saw that, I'd be freaked out. But Famine says, such beautifully tragic poetry, your endless capacity to build the hopes from which you will fall transcends the divine, and proves your worth to me, because your hope will be infinite deaths between your heart and your mind, and this young man who I made whole again. Now, Famine grabs Wally. Wally says, I'm sorry, Barry. Barry looks behind and says, Wally? And Famine says, your science and faith have no power here, but please, don't stop fighting back for me. And to challenge your resilience once again, we've used the Speed Force to push you just a moment outside of time. You will now walk this world as an immortal ghost, an incorporeal witness as I feast on the death throes of all of humankind. It is their delicious nature to feed me with their despair, just as it's your nature to replenish hope, no matter the setback I devised for you. This is why I spare you, Barry, so I leave you with this. Know that I will haunt you with unending despair again and again. And you will feed me forever because you will never run out of hope to stop me. You'll just keep running. Now, Barry, this is actually very interesting, guys. So, Barry, by having hope, is still feeding Famine. Because what Famine does is he uses Barry's hope to give hope to other people. But then, when that hope is lost, they have a lot of despair. And by having them have despair and them losing hope, he then kills them, right? Or possesses them. So, Famine doing this is gonna, like, destroy all of humankind. He's gonna use Barry's hope to get into the minds of everyone. Which, I actually found that super intriguing. But still, we see Barry here, and he tried, but he can't fight back. He basically becomes like an immortal ghost that serves Famine's plans. So, very dark ending, but we see Barry, he basically disappears. And his flash ring falls to the ground. And he just looks. He remembers to keep going. He's not gonna stop hoping. He's gonna save the world eventually. Now, we see Cybeast, which was actually in the Teen Titans issue of Future States. And this is basically Beast Boy and Cyborg combined. They find the flash ring. And Cybeast reports back to the Teen Titans. He says, Cybeast to Starfire. We lost Barry Allen, but I've got new intel on the Riders. And I have Barry's flash ring. It's loaded with data. With what we learned here today, I think Barry's giving us a fighting chance for a better tomorrow. So, guys, again, so Famine thought he tricked and killed Barry and basically made Barry a part of his plan, but Barry, by doing this whole confrontation, facing off against Famine, has learned Famine's weakness, has learned the Riders of Apocalypse weakness, and he loaded it on the flash ring. So now the Teen Titans can use this to beat the Riders of Apocalypse and save the world. So yeah, that's basically the end of the story, guys. That's how the Flash series of Future State ends. It's a very dark but hopeful ending, I guess. Like, it's dark how Barry disappears, but at the same time, his death means that maybe the Teen Titans can save the world. So that was Future State, The Flash, number 2. And first off, the artwork by Brandon Pearson and Will Conrad was pretty fire. I thought the artwork looked pretty cool. It fit the tone throughout, it fit that dark tone, and it just looked cool. Like, I like this artwork. Now, the story, like, what you could hear from me is basically what you heard from a lot of other people. Making Wally like a villain again is just so repetitive, doesn't work. I'm not a big fan of it. And seeing Famine, like, Famine looks creepy, has a really cool design, but the character himself is just like another, okay, Rider of Apocalypse. Some other evil that's not super developed. Like, you don't know he's just evil. Just flat out evil. Which, after Future State, I'm not gonna care. But for now, I'll go with it. I'll ride with it, right? Now, Barry, I did like his mindset in this. I did think that his dialogue was overwritten at times. Like, I wish it was condensed a little bit. But I still liked his overall narrative. Like, him striving for hope. And then him using the flash ring to load up some data to help out the Teen Titans in the end. That was cool. The ending was actually very interesting. Like, it was very surprising. It gets me excited for Future State Teen Titans #2. That'll be pretty cool. But overall, this issue, I think it was better than the first because the action was really cool and the artwork actually looked better. But the writing itself, I feel like the story will be forgotten in a little bit, right? Once Future State is done in maybe like a couple months, people won't remember this. Like, there's no reason to. It's such a dark story, such like an Elseworld story that isn't really satisfying, that I don't think people really care. I don't think it's terrible. It's like, some people think the story is terrible, but I don't think it is. The artwork's good. The actual writing is not that bad, but the direction of the story, making Wally a villain again, is not cool. I don't really like that. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna give this issue a 7 out of 10. It's passable. Like, I don't think it misses the mark. I don't think it's like terrible, but I just can't give it anything above a 7 because I don't think it's really worth it. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's just simply passable. That's it. So yeah, guys, tell me your thoughts on this issue down below. What would you give it from 1 to 10? What did you think about that ending? What are your theories for Future State Teen Titans #2? And yeah, guys, if you like the video, give a big thumbs up. New channel, make sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next DC Future States video. And yeah, thanks for watching, and peace out.